For decades, the baseline economics of spaceflight required building multi-million-dollar vehicles, launching them once, and then dropping the hardware into the ocean to sink. To solve that economic drain, SpaceX engineered a system to recover and reuse their boosters. However, asking a rocket to return to its launch pad creates an enormous physical contradiction. Reaching orbit requires generating a massive amount of kinetic energy to escape Earth's gravity. But to safely catch that same booster on the way back down, you have to actively bleed off that exact same energy before it hits the surface. Ultimately, rocket reusability is a complex energy management problem. The challenge lies in surviving the return trip through the atmosphere. This tension plays out during the SDA Tranche 1 Launch 3 mission at Vandenberg Space Force Base. The California coastline offers the specific geography required for safe overwater trajectories and Pacific recoveries. The payload here adds strict constraints. This is a highly classified U.S. military mission, meaning SpaceX has to keep certain deployment details out of sight at the customer's request. As liftoff begins, the scale of the operation is clear. A 15-story machine clears the tower and starts pushing through the lower atmosphere. Pushing the military payload to orbit is a routine procedure. The true engineering test is successfully hitting the brakes on a 15-story booster returning from space. The power required to climb out of the atmosphere is staggering. At the base of the Falcon 9, all 9 Merlin engines ignite, generating 190,000 pounds of thrust each. As the vehicle accelerates, it hits max Q. This is the precise point in the ascent where the combination of high speed and air pressure puts the absolute maximum physical stress on the rocket. After leaving the thickest part of the atmosphere behind, the first stage shuts down its 9 engines, an event called main engine cutoff. The 2 stages separate, and the booster's primary upward job is finished. At the moment of separation, the booster is hurtling through a vacuum. It possesses thousands of miles per hour of velocity that it must now eliminate to survive the trip home. Because of the military payload, the second stage proceeds to orbit under a communications blackout. We leave it in the dark and track the first stage as it begins its long fall back toward the Pacific. This diagram illustrates the entry burn. Falling tail first, the booster relights 3 engines against its momentum. Firing these causes the rocket to fly backward through its own carbon exhaust, sweeping a thick layer of black soot up the hull. This entry burn only solves part of the equation. It reduces velocity enough to keep the atmosphere from tearing the ship apart, but it leaves the booster in a high-speed freefall. To hit a tiny target in the middle of the ocean, the Falcon 9 deploys 4 hypersonic grid fins. These act as the primary control surfaces, tilting and shifting against the rushing air to steer the vehicle. You will also occasionally see white puffs around the hull. These are bursts of cold nitrogen gas, used to make minute attitude corrections as the vehicle falls. Down near the surface, the single-engine landing burn begins. This final deceleration is timed to scrub away the very last of the booster's speed at the exact second the landing legs deploy. Landing on a drone ship requires a precise trade. The booster swaps the raw thrust of its ascent for aerodynamic gliding on the descent. Back in mission control, telemetry confirms the operation. The military payload secures its orbit, and the booster achieves a soft touchdown on the drone ship, Of Course, I Still Love You. The data from this launch confirms the routine nature of the system. This marks the 4th successful flight for this particular booster, with fairing halves flying for their 5th and 6th times. This scorched appearance is the clear physical record of the booster surviving the intense friction and heat of re-entry. Reusing this hardware lowers the capital required for spaceflight. By removing the need to build a new rocket for every mission, SpaceX enables more rapid investment in orbital infrastructure. Modern spaceflight is no longer defined by pristine, single-use engineering, but by the routine, soot-stained reality of the flight-proven rocket.